What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Inside Lines podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson, and week 5 was another crazy one. Here are a few takeaways. The Jets and Vikings played in London, and the Jets unfortunately did not bring their A game. On the flip side, the defense of the Vikings showed up and showed out and performed a fitting celebration. Let's talk about it. Vikings Cameron Bynum and defensive Josh Metellus replicated the Parent Trap celebration following Bynum's interception of Aaron Rodgers in the first quarter. If y'all didn't see it, check it out. Put in Cameron Bynum, Parent Trap, and you will get a giggle out of it. It's one of his favorite movies ever, FYI. Now, let's talk about the Seahawks. They went from undefeated to dropping 2 games in less than a week. I'm talking Monday Night Football against the Lions. They took an L there, followed by a home game on this past Sunday against the Giants. The Giants ended up winning that one, and hopefully the Seahawks can rebound for week 6 and get back into it to where they need to be, back to their winning streak. So good luck to the Seahawks for week 6. And the Cowboys pulled off a win. I don't know if y'all saw it, against the Steelers, which was a great game. A little crazy at the end, but it was still a great game. And the Jacksonville Jaguars finally secured a win in 2024, beating the Colts by 3. Now, let's talk about women in sports. In the WNBA, the New York Liberty topped the Las Vegas Aces and advances to the WNBA Finals. We're not sure who they will play next. It's going to be the winner of the Connecticut Sun and the Minnesota Lynx series. So y'all make sure to go support women in sports, especially the WNBA. Cheer on both the Connecticut Sun and Minnesota Lynx, and also the WNBA Finals. Okay, that's it for this week. Let's get into our amazing episode with the beautiful Emily Engram. On the podcast today, we have an international fashion model who started her career at just 19 years old and has built an amazing career modeling for brands like Skims, Wrangler, PrettyLittleThing, Good American, Bitey Swimwear. That's just a few. She is also married, just got married, she's a newlywed, to Jacksonville Jaguars' Emily Engram, and I cannot wait to get into that story. Please welcome to the show, Emily Engram. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm great. How are you?
I am good. I'm so excited to have you on.
Me too.
We have a mutual friend. Shout out to Alex Sanders.
Yes, love her.
And I'm so excited because she's like, you have to have her on. She's so incredible. So I look forward to just getting into it, talking about all the amazing things that you have going on. But we're going to back it up a little bit. Okay. And I want to talk about how you got started. You grew up with your family in the Air Force.
Yes.
Okay, I got to hear about this. Tell me all about it.
Well, my dad, wonderful at his job. So we did move around about every 18 months. So
okay, wow.
It was a lot. There were 4 high schools, I believe 4 middle schools, and a couple elementary and kindergartens. But yeah, it was a lot of moving. He was very successful at what he did, so that was wonderful. But yes, it was a lot. Me and my stepbrother, we had to shift around a lot.
Yeah, how was that socially? How was that trying to make friends and keep friends at that point?
I'm a pretty extroverted person, okay. So I don't think it was too difficult until late middle school, early high school. Then whenever I started to make those deep girlfriend connections and started to get boy crazy, that's whenever things definitely started to get tougher with moving around. But up until that point, I was like a new place, a new adventure. And then whenever I started to get into those relationships, I was kicking and screaming whenever I was leaving. I did not enjoy it after that.
I feel you on that because I hear most of the time it's typically 4 years. So the fact that you had to do it every 18 months, every year and a half is you can't even really find your roots because right when they're starting to just get in the ground, you're just yanked out.
Exactly. Yeah, that was definitely rough. But the family unit, that's what became the biggest thing. The rocks in my life were definitely my parents and my brother. Just because that's all we knew for sure we were going to have was one another. Yeah.
And with all of that moving, how would you say that influenced your career path?
I think it really just helped it flow effortlessly. Honestly, I thought that I would never want to move around as much, but then the career, it just took off, and moving around was just like second nature. It just came very naturally, and it helped out a lot. I know that whenever I would be at different places and we would be in these model apartments with other girls from around the world, that I would hear them just like really be missing home. And I love my parents and I definitely miss them, but there was just like, okay, go off and we'll see you in the holidays. And it just wasn't as, I didn't get as homesick as quickly as some of my friends did. And so that was a bit different to kind of see how people who had the roots where they grew up, and the same friends from elementary to middle school to high school, and then they left, and that was their first experience. It was new for me to watch, but also I felt kind of like an alien. Like, is something wrong with me that I'm just like, okay, I'll see my parents for Christmas in like 6 months.
And it was not a big deal at all. You're like, I'm used to
not
this.
at all. I was like, okay.
So talk about how you got started in the modeling world.
So I started whenever I was 19, but the thoughts of modeling came in a little bit sooner, around 14 or 15. Okay. I remember watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show, and I was like, I'm obsessed. I need to do that. I need to be there. I need the wings. I need the hair. I need all of it. And of course, my dad was like, no, no, thank you. Please pick something else. But it was something that I would then always talk about. And my senior year of high school, I was pretty much done with all of my credits. And so I had like 3 classes that I had to take every day, and I wanted them to be the easiest classes. So I took a fashion design course. And our first day, she had asked everyone in the class, like, why did you take my class? And so I told her, like, I have interest in maybe modeling. And that was the first time that I had ever said it out loud to anyone other than my parents. So I was definitely nervous to have been that open with her. But she had me stay back after class and had expressed that this was in Washington, D.C. is where I graduated. Okay. And she had expressed that she either produced or had a heavy hand in the production of Crystal Couture Fashion Week. And she was like, if that's something you're interested in, like, I can get you into the casting room and see how that goes for you. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like that would be awesome. And so I did. And that was my first time like doing runway and kind of having a very small taste of what it was really going to be like for the career. But it definitely fueled that spark that I originally had on like, oh yeah, this is where I want to be at. This is what I want to do.
So walk us through that. Okay. Because this is, you clearly, even though you wanted to do this, you didn't know anything about it.
Oh, nothing about it.
And she tells you like, hey, you said this is what I'm offering. Even when you said yes and you walked in, like, what did that look like for you?
Well, I'm 5'8.5", 5'9" on a good day. And so when I'm walking literally into the casting rooms and into the shows, there are these just giraffes for women. And I'm just like, I felt so out of place. I felt so nervous. But I was also so excited. And she, of course, would check in and try to make her rounds with me. But there was also this like sense of community that I had never known about with the models. And we were all pretty new. So it wasn't as terrifying the next day for the next shows. But that first time walking out onto the runway and the 15 seconds felt like a blink of an eye, and just, it was a nerve-wracking day, but it was so thrilling.
Were you like nervous? Were you thinking like, okay, what's my walk going to be? What's my signature walk? Like, did you know that yet?
Of course. Whenever I saw the Victoria's Secret show, I was practicing walking all the time. So I was like, I've got this walk down. I've been practicing for like 5 years. Like, I'm going to do this and it's going to be great and it'll be wonderful. But I also didn't want to show anyone. Like, I was terrified to show my mom my walk, and I was terrified to show my friends. So it was all in my head. It was all in my head that this walk was fantastic. And thankfully it wasn't bad, or I don't think it was bad, but it worked out. Cool. Yeah.
So how was the sisterhood when you were there, like with the other models?
It was really good. There was definitely, some hierarchy to it. Some of the girls that were more seasoned with it. There's just, you put a group of beautiful women together, and the nervousness can kind of take over. People become a little more timid, or some people, become a little bit more dominant, and rubbing shoulders can kind of be a thing, especially whenever you see the outfits. I think that's kind of a thing. If you're seasoned, the designers a little more, you kind of get in with the better looks or the more extravagant looks. And so being new, having taken some of those, I think it ruffled a little feathers originally, but I was just like, I'm just new here. I'm just trying my best. But it was interesting. And there are friends that come out of it for sure. And then you know that everyone's you're going to go next year. You're going to be there next year. You're going to try again. And so that you'll have a group that's there with you each year, and be able to do the carpools and the late nights and all of that with each other.
Makes sense. You have each other, which is so important.
Yeah.
What would you say? So from this first runway, like you walked it, 15 seconds, it's over. Was it like adrenaline? Were you like, oh my gosh, I have to do this again?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so addictive, even with switching into photo shoots, because the runway was so fun, and it really was wonderful. And it helped show my agents whenever I officially signed, like, that I have a little bit under my belt. There's some potential here that they would be able to help grow with me. And then it transitioned into the studio shoots, the campaign work, and the adrenaline is very similar. I think there's differences whenever it comes to what type of photo shoots you're doing, whether it's kind of like the stock images that you'll just see on a website, or if it's a full-on campaign. But there's this like just boost that you get, and it's just so exciting to do. And it's similar to like a passion anyone has, how anyone can feel that just excitement or relaxation from it. It just makes you feel really good to be doing something that you love to do.
Okay, so you do this campaign, and it catapults your career, and you start doing these other campaigns. When was the moment where you realized, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Because people have the dreams, they try things, they're not quite sure, but then you get this boost of confidence where you're like, I'm her. This is it.
The exact moment, I'm not sure of, but I know that whenever I shot Wrangler was the first time that it was really all about me. There was another male model on the set, but it was just me as the solo female for this campaign that I recall. There might have been a campaign sooner than that, but this was one where it was like a really big name that everyone knew what you were talking about when you said Wrangler. And whenever that happened, I was like, it was shot in like the middle of nowhere in some warehouse. Like, it wasn't anywhere glamorous, but they flew me in and they had everything laid out. They were really on top of everything, and it just felt very grown. It felt very what I thought all of the modeling jobs were like, and what I thought other girls were doing when they were zipping around New York. Like, it was just really, I felt like this is how I want every single shoot to go, and this is how I want to feel every time I leave a set. And they were wonderful to work with, and the images came out great. And it was like, I was able to show my parents and be like, this is something that I really love to do. And it can fund my life. The paychecks are equal to what's happening. Cause I know that was a huge worry for my dad. Whenever he knew, like, I can't talk her off this ledge of Victoria's Secret, maybe I can let her know, like, hey, the pay, how's the pay? And I was able to show a paycheck. Like, I'm good. I'm going to be okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So tell us about your parents. Like, were they shocked? Were they like, oh my gosh, this is my baby girl? Like, what was their thought process when they see that you're on this campaign?
My dad was definitely more hesitant until he saw the paycheck. That was like, for him, he didn't really care about anything else. He was just like, I just want you to be financially okay and be able to take care of yourself. My mom, when I had expressed to her that, like, this fashion show that I just watched, I need to be a part of it. My dad was like, oh, no. And my mom was like, I will do whatever I can to make your dreams come true. And she did. And so we were driving all the way to like Alabama for a fashion week. Like we were going everywhere. She would take all of the time off. She would make it work. And she was really dedicated because I really had a spark behind this and she wanted to foster it. And so all credit to her for really getting me into places for the experience. Yes. That way, whenever I was put in the real room with the real people that could make a change, I wasn't too nervous or too like, oh, this is a lot happening. Yeah. It's really going on, that I was like, I'm somewhat accustomed to this. I can get it down.
Okay, so I want to talk about the other side because you always hear these different things. I remember watching like America's Next Top Model. I remember watching all these things, and there were certain things that you would hear about. Like there was the models that struggled with either eating disorders or body dysmorphia, like all of these different things. Are those? I mean, obviously it's probably still around, but did you see it, and how did you deal like within those situations?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a version of body dysmorphia. I no longer have to deal with it. But whenever I was 18, 19, and I was really trying to break into New York specifically, just the era that time frame was, I was told that I was too wide, that I was too big. And I mean, I wasn't, I was very, very athletic. So I was at my peak when I was 18, and I wasn't too curvy, but, that was like, that was the most shocking, like, put down that I had. And it wasn't something that I could really change without doing unhealthy things that I had heard girls do before. And I wasn't willing to go down that road, but it did take a toll on me mentally about, okay, but this world is where I want to be in, and I'm being told things that I can't really change about myself. Yeah. So I don't really know how to work with that. And it wasn't until I signed with my mother agent that she had expressed to me, like, if you don't ever want to be told anything like that again, I will make sure you're not in a space for that. And cut to, she got me in contact with my LA agent. And she was like, I'm never going to tell you anything about that for yourself as long as you are healthy. As long as you take care of yourself. As long as you're healthy, that's all I care about. We can change your hair color. We can do all this other fun stuff. But as far as it coming to your body, that's totally up to you, and I'm not going to push you in any direction. And from that point on, that's something I looked at with each of my agencies, that they are in an understanding that for my mental well-being, I'm not comfortable having the conversation about what my body type should look like for certain rooms. If it comes to it, I want to be the first girl in that room that has my body type or whatever it may be.
That part.
But there are some girls that still definitely struggle with it. I think that post-COVID, a lot of clients and companies are a little bit more inclusive, and I think that's a really beautiful thing to see. I do think that the more east you go in the world, starting from LA, the less inclusive it becomes. I think Europe still has a little bit of ground to cover whenever it comes to inclusivity. But I think that as far as the major fashion capitals within the US and maybe in North America, that the inclusivity is there, and that a lot more girls are getting an opportunity.
That's great. And I'm so glad that you had those people in your space that helped pull you out of that mental space, because everyone telling you that you're not good enough all the time has to be mentally defeating, period. Like there's nothing, I don't care if you're as strong can be. After a while of getting beat up, you're going to be like, dang, are they right? Like it makes you start like, just, I guess, thinking differently about yourself when you walked in with the most confidence you could even have. So I'm proud of you for like, understanding who you are and finding people that you put around you that make sure that they spoke positivity into your life. Absolutely. So important. Okay, so I need to find out, your career brought you back to LA, right?
Yes.
Talk about how that happened.
So
because you settled down there, correct?
I was there for a few years. Yeah, I was there up until, I want to say like the peak of COVID, or maybe just a year after that. Okay. But yeah, I was in LA. I went there with $1,000 in my pocket and a hope and a dream. And that was really it. And I stayed there for about 3 months in a model apartment and didn't book a single job. It wasn't until my last week that I was there that I booked a job, and it covered my rent for the time I was there, and that was it. And I went back to my parents, and I was just like, that was a rough one. But during that time, before I flew out to LA and really gave it a go, of course, my dad, he made sure that I had some sort of backup plan. So the year after high school, I did a lot of just test shooting and whatnot to kind of build a book. I was talking with my mother agent at the time to kind of figure out what direction we wanted to go. But I also was in cosmetology school. So that was my fallback. If all of this just does not work, at least I'll have something that I enjoy doing, but that can give me a life. So I went. It didn't work out. I came back to DC and was working in salon to kind of pad up my bank account. Yeah. And then went back again.
LA is no joke. It's expensive.
No joke. When I went back the next time, I was there for about 4 months and did a little bit better, but had to kind of make that back and forth journey for about 2 years. And thankfully, my manager at the salon I was working at, she very much believed in my dream and was very open with letting me go for 6 months and letting me come back. It wasn't until I started to kind of see how it was affecting my coworkers that I would give them all of my clients, and then I'd go for 6 months, I'd come back, and I'd kind of want my clients back. And that's money out of their bank account. And I was like, okay, so I need to make a solid decision here to either put all of the eggs in my basket or to kind of take a step back and really dive into the hair world. And so that's when I let her know it's my 2-week notice. I'm going to be out of here. And then I moved to LA full time and did great. And then I was actually in London working for about 3 months. And the day before COVID shut everything down is the day I flew back to the States. So I just made it back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then everything got shut down. During that time, I was working with Nasty Gal, and I was a really reoccurring model for them, and they sent me the clothes in a giant box, and I put up a curtain in the backyard. I had a friend take photos of me with their camera, and that's how we were working out all of the Nasty Gal stuff, everything, all of the stuff. They gave me a whole sheet about hair and makeup. They knew I could do it myself because I had my license, and they knew that I was a good model. I worked with them all the time. Yeah. Showed them the backdrop, and I did that. That's how I was able to sustain life through COVID until 2021. I just wanted to change up a scene and give New York that try again, even though it slammed the door in my face the first time I tried. I'd spent those 4 years in LA, and then in 2021, I wanted to head over to New York and give it a go.
And tell us about New York.
New York was great. It was definitely a change. My portfolio did not fit what was going on or what I wanted to achieve. So it was definitely a challenge to get clients to see past the like bubbly, smiley, all of the like very California girl vibe that was in my portfolio at the time, and to try to give me a chance for more edgy stuff. And I was able to do that. But at the same time, my whirlwind of romance with my husband was also starting up. So my mind was like, whatever jobs I was asked to do, I did. But I was there working and then immediately checked out. As soon as work was over, I checked out and I was like, oh my God, we're going on a date. My man. Yeah. So I was like, okay, work is fun, but let's go.
Yes. Okay. Tell us, I always asked about love stories. Tell us your story.
So, back in LA in 2019, I was going through a whole toxic situation and clearly was not willing to let it go because it was an on and off situation. We were just like, that day we went off and I was crying and I was a mess. And my roommate, who was a model at the model apartment, was like, girl, I'm tired of you crying all the time. But she was like, a friend of mine knows like these people that are going out, like, let's just go out. So I was like, sure, fine, I'll go. So we go to Delilah, and it's in West Hollywood. And I had been there a couple times with her. So I was like, okay, it's kind of a chill vibe. It's not anything too crazy. So I should be fine. And we get there, we go into the back room, and it's all of these guys. And I went straight for the alcohol. I went straight for the drinks. I went straight for the beverages.
You were out, but you still had your feelings you had to work through.
I was going through it, and I was just like, I'm not interested in any of these guys. Like, and so I don't recall exactly what I said, but I do know I was trauma dumping on Evan for sure. He says he just sat there and like chatted with me and just listened. And she was single too, and she was just mingling around the table, and I was just sitting there with my drink, just like yapping. And so
that is hilarious.
We met there. He hung out with her and I maybe like a time or two after that, but I still was not. It was like the next day and two, so I was still not mentally in a space to even think of him in that light. And he was in LA training with some of the other guys from the Giants, which he was signed to at the time. So he flew back to New York, and he was there. I spent 2 more years in LA, and then in 2021 headed to New York, and I was freshly signed to this new agency. And they had a girl that I had briefly met in like a party or two in LA, and she was staying in the same building as my Airbnb. So just to kind of try to connect, I didn't really know anyone else in New York. So she and I spent Valentine's Day together because I was officially free of this man and was just like having a good old single time. And she was very into athletes, and I was always like, don't mess with them. No, thank you. They sound like trouble to me. And so she had asked me like, do you know any athletes here? And I was like, well, I know of one. He plays on the Giants. I don't really know him like that, but like we follow each other on Instagram. And she was like, oh, he's cute. And I was like, yeah, I guess he's cute. And so she's like, can you set up like a double date or something? So I messaged him if he wanted to go on a double date, and I sent him her profile, and he hearted it. So I was like, okay, I'm playing matchmaker. It's great. They love each other. All I told him was like, bring a friend. He just has to be funny. And because I wasn't looking for anything, but a good laugh is a good laugh. So he was like, okay, got you. Cool.
Wait, time out. Did he think that you were coming to hang with him and the friend was going to be with her? Or did he understand what was really going on?
No, he did not understand what I was planning. So there are 2 narratives happening simultaneously that were not the same. So he, we show up the time and place, and I sit down. His friend sits across from me, but he sits right next to me, and she sits right next to me. So I'm like, okay, how's this going to work? Whatever. So I try to like include the conversation. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why she sat here so that I could kind of break the ice. And so I'm just trying to like chat in a little bit, and drinks are flowing, and I lean forward to like have a conversation with the guy across the table, and I hear Evan lean behind me to her and say like, I'm so glad that she set this up. Like, I've been trying to talk to her since I met her 2 years ago. And I like the record scratching like in my head. Like, I was like, and so her and I went to the bathroom, and she's asking me 1,000,001 questions, and I'm like, this is some athlete stuff. This is why I don't deal with it. Like, I was pissed.
You were like, that is not what I said.
Mad. I was so mad. And so we come out of the bathroom. I like snap my fingers at him. I tell him we need to go have a conversation. And so he gets up and we go have a conversation. And he was just like, I thought this was a double date for you and I, and and I was like, but you hearted the message, but I asked for you to bring a friend. He's like, I thought you were telling me like that's who was for him, and he liked her, and a whole miscommunication.
Yeah, but so you couldn't even be mad. You were like,
I couldn't even be mad because he was just like clarifying everything as it was coming.
You're like, let me put my finger down in my pocket.
Exactly. He was very, very kind. And it was that energy of just being so genuine that there was no games being played right now. And so it really started to put down my wall a bit, and then he was expressing his feelings for why like he didn't talk to me or fly me in. He's like, I didn't want to just fly you from LA as some girl that I'm flying to me. I didn't want you to feel that type of way. So I wanted to just wait. You were in a relationship, and I just wanted to wait for my time to actually be able to communicate with you and it not come off some type of way. And that's when the heavens parted and a beam of light hit him. And then we were obsessed. We didn't go to bed. We were up till the next day. He had practice that he had to go to. Like, we were up chatting, just talking the whole time. Her and I, our friendship didn't work out. But that was months later, totally unrelated.
Okay, got it.
But of course, I was just like, she and I had a whole understanding of like, it was clearly a misunderstanding of what was going on. He had even that night went back to her and was just like, you're a beautiful girl. You're a smart girl. I've just really been waiting to shoot my shot here. And she was like,
respect.
Okay.
Respect.
It was all he could do. But yeah, and then after that, like 2 weeks later, I was in LA for about 2 weeks. He flew me to him in Atlanta. The season had ended for the Giants. So I met him in Atlanta. And as soon as I got there, asked me to be his girlfriend, and then that was it.
I love that. And okay, I just want to say this to you. I love the fact I can understand why after that conversation that you both had, it worked so well. Because you came in hot and upset, and he was like, I'm going to calm all of this down and speak directly to her and communicate with her in a way that she's able to receive. There's no defense mechanism that came up for him. And so it just, for you, it's probably refreshing. You're probably like,
oh my gosh.
Especially
So
you talked about being like, okay, you were in this relationship before where it was hot and cold, right?
Yep.
And then with him, he's just even keel.
Yeah.
So you're probably like,
very calm.
So this is healthy.
Straight up.
Okay.
Right. Oh my gosh. The healthy. I was like, so we're not going to argue right now. We're not going to yell in this restaurant right now. Yeah. It was very refreshing.
Okay, so I love the story 100%. I need to know, because what a lot of people don't know is you're still a newlywed, right? You consider you're newlywed for a whole year. Yeah. So you got married this past April 2024. Tell us about the wedding.
The wedding.
Wait, time out before the wedding.
Yes.
I want to know how you got proposed to, and then we'll go to the wedding.
And then the wedding. Well, the proposal was July of 2022.
Okay.
He had just signed a 1-year deal to the Jags, and we had just bought our first home. So he had all of our friends and family at the house, and that weekend we were going to be leaving to Turks and Caicos. We normally do just a quick weekend trip before any season starts, just to kind of reconnect before he's in machine mode.
Yep.
And so we had all the family and friends there, and I just had a feeling something might happen, but nothing happened. I was like, okay, all of our people are here. Nothing's going down, whatever. So then we go, and I planned the whole trip to Turks and Caicos. So like everything was, he had no idea what was really going on. It was all me. When we got there, the only thing that like threw me a bit was while we were packing, he was like, can you like bring a white dress and like maybe just do your nails how you do for work? Because I have to do pretty plain nails for work, and when I'm on a vacation, I will do the most. I'll get the long clicky clackies. I'll have all the designs and everything. And he was like, I was gonna do neon orange, and I was really annoyed that he kept telling me to not do that. But I was just like, okay, whatever. So that kind of like, I had a little vibe, but I was like, maybe he's just being annoying. I don't know. And then we get there, and he was really adamant about doing a really nice beach dinner the first night. And normally we do like a really nice dinner our last night. Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe he just wants, like, I'm really trying to give him like everything about, maybe he just wants to have some say in what's going on this trip. I don't know. So we head down the beach, and I'm starving at this point, but the sunset's gorgeous. So I'm like, can you take some pics of me? And normally he like really gets into it and flicks me up. He took 2 photos and was like, yeah, you're good. Let's go. And I was like, do I look bad do I not look good right now? And so we kept walking and I was like, I'm just going to let it go. It's fine. I'm not going to think about it. It's whatever. And so we're walking and I'm starving and I'm like, this is a really long walk. Is the food going to be cold by the time? Like, my thoughts are everywhere.
I cannot with you.
My thoughts are everywhere except for what's about to go down. And I start hearing like some music and I start seeing a little setup, and it wasn't until I saw the little white box on the, like, because he had blankets and pillows and my favorite flowers and orchids. So he had orchids, the flower itself, like in the sand and on the blankets and candles. And when I saw the little white box is whenever I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And then, you know, he took a deep breath with me and then got down on one knee so that I could recall what he was saying. And then, yeah, then his sister actually popped up out of the bushes because she was taking all of the photos. And then she just congratulated us, and then she was gone. Then she got on a flight and left. But it was really beautiful because then we had the rest of our trip to like enjoy the engagement. And it was really, really beautiful and really wonderful.
That's beautiful. Well done. Good job, Evan.
Yeah, good on him. Good on him.
So tell me how the wedding planning, because listen, we've heard about bridezillas, we've heard about, you know, family members beefing, all these crazy things happen. Tell me, what was your experience with planning the wedding?
I thought I would be a bridezilla. I was nervous for my planner because I thought I was going to be one, but I was more relaxed than I even thought that I would be. But I do give her so much credit for really just like taking the reins and going with my mood board. That was really my biggest thing, is that in order for me not to go over the top and manage every single thing, like just bring me a couple options and I'll tell you if I like all of them, if I don't like anything, or if this is the one. And that's exactly what she did. She took the mood board that I had from my Pinterest and really curated it so that it felt like me. It didn't feel like a copy and paste, but that I also had a big hand in everything that was going down. And Evan had a couple things that he really, really wanted to be a part of it as well. So as far as the bridezilla, that was totally fine. There was no issues there. All of my bridesmaids were wonderful and like they got it down. They understood the assignment. But it was wonderful. The day of is when the stresses happened. Most of the planning, we had about almost 2-year engagement. So the majority of the planning was at our discretion. Like we just kind of did it as we went, and it got done like a month before. We just had a week of like little details to figure out the week of the wedding. But the stress is what the wedding day brought on because it was torrential rain and wind.
No.
It was horrifying.
Where was this?
This was in Huntington, New York. It was perfectly fine. The day we arrived, gorgeous. The next day with our wedding rehearsal and our gathering, like our welcome party, it just took a turn. It was
You're like, what is this?
Oh my gosh. I was mortified because I had been checking the weather. I've been checking it.
Of course.
I had been checking it. Even the year before, like on our wedding day, it was gorgeous. It was like 75 and sunny. And I was like, oh, perfect. This next year, it'll be even better. Oh my goodness. It was horrible. Our Airbnb, it sounded like it was going to blow over. The tree in the backyard snapped in half. The rain was sideways. I was up at 4:30, like, please, Lord, please, please, please. I'm getting married outside today. Please.
Part the skies just one time.
Please, please. And I was up at 4:30. I did not get any sleep after that. I was wide awake and I was praying. I was outside. I was talking to him, and I was just like, if I have to get married in the rain, that's fine. But I just really want you to bless the day. And if this is a blessing, then I will fully accept it. But it was rough, and it continued all the way until, we got to the venue. We were doing touch-ups at the venue. We did our photos inside, and then they would bring us outside every once in a while when the rain would stop. My wedding planner did call me multiple times about, we might have to move the ceremony inside. We might have to go for plan B. And I was like, no, I'm getting married outside today. And
I feel you on that.
She was very adamant about, like, we really might need to go inside. And I was just like, I don't feel it in my bones that it's going to be pouring whenever I walk down. I don't feel it in my bones. And if it is, then it'll just be Evan and I, and we'll get married in the rain. That's fine. And she was like, okay, well, they're going to have to stop working until it lightens up. And they did. They would go out there and they would work so hard to get everything set up. And then as soon as it'd be coming down, they'd take a break and work on the inside. And they really did an amazing job of balancing the two with trying to make my demand happen. And it wasn't until about 45 minutes before the ceremony was going to start that completely cleared up. A little warm, beautiful and sunny. Ground wasn't soaking wet, which was crazy to me. Like it was perfectly fine. Everyone was able to walk without like squishing or anything. It turned into the most stunning afternoon. It ended up being beautiful.
That's amazing. You know, you had to pray and have a little faith. That's all it was.
That's all it was.
Okay, so since you've been married, what has been, because I think you guys were already together, right, in Jacksonville, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't like you had to do the super adjustment.
No.
What would you say is the biggest difference, if any, like you feel, since being married?
I really, like, that's been the question everyone asks is like, how does it feel being married? And I honestly don't feel much different. We've had this level of commitment since we decided to be together. We knew it was endgame after that. So it's not like there's a heightened unity that we have or anything like that. It really just feels like like our everyday. It doesn't feel much different. I do think it's because we had already lived together for about 2 years before. That all of those growing pains that you have when trying to navigate living with someone, I already knew what I was getting into. Yep. He already knew what he was getting into.
Gonna work this out.
Exactly. So it's not much different, but it definitely, you know, he did the carrying over the threshold when we got to our home and stuff. So there was little things that was fun. But
that's so cute. Yeah. And then it's okay work-wise, because I mean, obviously you were still working, you know, when he played before, but has there been like a change in like the balancing of your career versus while he's playing in the NFL?
So not too much. I really went hard last year on attending every single game as well as balancing my job. And it was exhausting. It definitely wasn't easy and totally fine. I mean, those red-eye flights are killer, but it was something that I really wanted to kind of challenge myself to do by keeping up with my job. And also he loves whenever I'm there for games. So trying to be as dedicated as I can to my partner and his wishes. This year, after the wedding, I had already taken off a good chunk of the year for the wedding. And then after the wedding, I have a new vision for what I would like to attempt before babies become a part of the conversation. Okay. So
that was my next question.
We're going to try a new avenue for work, which is why the hair change, why we went a little bit more red to push into that more interesting or edgy look for New York and Milan and Paris. So that's the push that we're going to try to do and see what happens. If it works out, amazing. If not, I think the baby train might pull up a little sooner. But that's really the only thing that's different this year from last year is that I took off a lot of time just to really enjoy this time frame. We do not enjoy being away from each other. It's not fun. We miss each other all the time. Physical affection, just like cuddles, holding hands, like that's our love language. So it's really tough.
Nothing better than cuddling.
Yeah, it's really tough to not be able to be with your person every day or every night. So I really wanted to enjoy the newlywed phase, at least the first half of it, with being with my partner and just being able to be in my space and be comfortable. And then as the year has progressed, I'm taking on a couple more jobs. I'm saying yes a little bit more. And then next year will kind of be a push for this new version that we can potentially open a door to, but there's also no pressure on me to be crazy successful in that. Again, with, you know, the more east you go, the less inclusive it is, at least for body types. Yep. So I'm still aware that a no might hit me in the face, and that's totally fine because I really do feel like I've succeeded in a lot of my career the past decade. So like I said, it could be wonderful and we could open a brand new chapter and that would prolong the babies. But if it's just not meant to be and babies are on our radar sooner, I think both of us are ecstatic for that too.
Yeah, it's a win-win either way.
Exactly.
Either way, I think. Okay, so last question before we get into the 2-minute drill. Okay. I want to talk about this in the NFL, and I think it's so important. And I see a lot of it in your community, especially in Jacksonville with the girls. Let's talk about like sisterhood and making friends in the NFL. How was it when you initially first started, you know, when you first got there? And how has it kind of slowly progressed as far as friendships and figuring out who your people are and so on and so forth?
Well, my first experience was in New York with the Giants.
Oh, in New York, that's right.
That was my first. It wasn't even a full year. Well, actually, yeah, it was a full season. And it was more. It was a brand new world. I had never experienced that before. So it was crazy and it was so much fun and everything is so high energy in New York in the first place that 100%. When it came to the girls, I didn't really seek out anything, but they were around and some of those girls were at my wedding. Like I adore them.
Love.
When I got to Jacksonville is whenever I was like, I'm really going to try out this WAG thing, this WAG lifestyle. I'm going to see what's up. I'm going to see what's going on. What do we do? What's it like? And it was rough. I'm not going to lie. It was rough. It was a tough adjustment. I think the overall goal everyone had was a sense of community, but I think at the same time, there's so many personalities that rubbing shoulders, it can be a bit tough to mesh well with everyone. 100%. So the first year was a bit much. So I took a step back about halfway through the first season just to kind of reevaluate, like, that's a lot of energy that I'm giving to people. And from my childhood, like I'm used to up and leaving and it being like, see you, don't have to deal with this. Yes. But I'm now committed to this partner and I'm committed to making his home life happy and peaceful. And I want my own peace. And so then the following year when we signed onto a 3-year deal, I think that me and all of the girls still had that same. We want the sense of community and we want everyone to feel included. And there was a wave of new girls coming in as well. So I think at that point, everyone was more willing to just be kind. Like the hierarchy, the who's here for a 1-year deal doesn't need to really be included in everything. Like all of those things, I think kind of went out the window. And I think that everyone was more accepting. And I think that has tenfold gotten everyone to be so included over the last 2 years that we've been here since then. I think everyone is really, really good with inclusivity and kindness and it all being genuine and just realizing we're all in the same boat. We are all in the same boat. We are all here for the same thing. We're all here to be super supportive. And there's a sisterhood that we can really tap into and thrive off of with one another.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay. Are you ready for the 2-minute drill?
I'm ready.
All right. I promise it will be easy.
Okay.
So I'm going to start the timer. 2 minutes. Okay. 1 second. It's not working. There it goes. Okay. 2-minute drill starts now. Okay. Name your favorite sports team. It doesn't have to be football, by the way.
My favorite sports team? Oh, no. Okay, growing up, my dad was a diehard Giants fan. So I feel like that's what I have to say. That or Yankees. I'll say Yankees to keep it out of football.
Deal. Okay. Cardio or strength training?
Strength training.
Morning workouts or evening workouts?
Morning workouts.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tell us who you admire.
I admire my dad.
I love that. Favorite cheat food?
Oh, any cake, any kind of cake.
Okay. Do you like static stretching or dynamic warm-ups?
Dynamic warm-ups.
Runway or photo shoots? You know I'm coming with it.
Oh, no. Photo shoots.
Okay. LA or New York?
New York.
You do have a love for New York, I can tell.
I do.
If you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Put your trust in God sooner.
That's great. Great advice. Okay, last question. What is next for you?
What is next? I think this big shift for my career, I do want to tap more into beauty and kind of get out of being in lingerie or swim all the time. Okay. So I'd like to be able to focus up here, not everywhere else. So I think that's the biggest shift and hopefully what I'm able to achieve in this next phase.
I love that. Okay, now I know people will probably have questions. They want to get a hold of you.
Okay.
If they want to get, hold on, timer's going off. If they want to get a hold of you, Emily, how do they reach you?
Through any of my socials. I think that's probably the best way to kind of connect with me. I'm a little more lively on my TikTok, but Instagram is a great platform too.
What's your social platforms?
My Instagram is NICARO and my TikTok is Emily Engram.
There you go. And we'll also put it in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining. You were amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's our show. For the latest on the Inside Lines podcast, make sure to follow on both Instagram and Facebook. You can also check out the website, insidelinespodcast.com, and listen to your favorite episode. Lastly, check out the YouTube page, Inside Lines Podcast, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when a new episode comes out. And please leave an amazing 5-star review online and let us know who you'd like to hear on Inside Lines Podcast. Until next time, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening.